Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's Shadow at Night for Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Our guest on the show tonight is Matt Alexander. Remember that name, Alexander? Took me a while to put it together. Matt is an educator, and for 20 years, he worked in the Ontario school system. So did his wife, Nicole. And a couple of years ago, unceremoniously let go for not celebrating the LGBTQ agenda. He's going to go into more detail on that tonight, how his entire family has been affected by this. There's nothing else to call it, this neo-Marxism that has infected our institutions these last few years. So Matt's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. Let's go say some hellos. Who's here watching tonight? Mo is watching in Somerset. Hello, Mo. Kim is watching tonight. Hello, Heather on YouTube. Nancy is watching tonight. Hello, Bob in Sudbury. Robert is watching in Kelowna. Hello, Yolanda tonight. Watching from, where are you watching? It doesn't say here. Judy is watching in Edmonton, where it's still summer, apparently. Yarmouth is where Donnie is watching tonight. Hello, Diane in Regina. Susan is watching in Leamington, Ontario. Sandra in Central Saskatchewan. Hello, Dawson in Maple Ridge. Linda's watching in Trenton. And Laura is watching in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Over on Rumble, we have Lawrence watching tonight. Diane. Patricia 0711. Arnie Stump Slayer. Bailey 242424 is watching tonight. Uniaki, hello. Jimmy James is watching in Calgary tonight as well. Wherever you guys are watching from tonight, whatever platform you happen to be watching on, don't forget, this is important. People need to hear this stuff. And I think you know this as well as I do, especially after what happened yesterday. And what is still happening today with the reaction of these monsters, these neo-Marxist monsters who are dancing jigs, screaming from the rooftops about how wonderful it is that Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday. More and more people are going, that's not right. I don't believe in that. That's who they are. When they show you who they are, believe them. So more and more people are waking up, and that means that they're willing to hear more information. Not just current information either, but information that goes back a couple of years, because maybe they missed it. Just maybe, because they spent their time watching the left-wing corporate media. They missed it. Like, share, get this out to as many people as you possibly can. We'll be back with Matt Alexander in just a second. The Shadow at Night live stream, as always, is brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Today we're comparing Crest toothpaste to SilverSeuticals toothpaste. First, we're starting out with Crest. It's a classic, it's an original. It's what I've used most of my life. But that being said, it does have its problems. First off, the consistency is so weird and thick, and I get it's a paste, but it really doesn't spread that well. And I must also say that I'm not in love with the taste. I get toothpaste isn't supposed to taste good, but why shouldn't it? But that being said, it does get the job done. Next, we have SilverSeuticals. They have 3 flavors, but today we're going with Bubbleberry. And already it smells so good. So I'm excited to see what this tastes like. The consistency is also a lot smoother, and I must say it spreads way nicer in your mouth.
This literally tastes like fruit bubblegum.
Yeah, this toothpaste was pretty good. I actually went in for seconds, and it's infused with nano silver, so it helps remineralize your teeth and keep them fresh throughout the day.
100% go with SilverSeuticals.
And here's the results. What's your favorite toothpaste?
Canada Nano Silver, 808-9292, area code 204. Hello, Matt. Thank you for coming on tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me on, Shadow.
So your story begins, I'm going to say, about 3 years ago, and it wasn't you that started it. It was your son, Josh, I think, wasn't it?
I guess you could say that, yeah, for sure.
He was protesting the fact that in his school they were allowing boys who identified as girls into the girls' restroom. It was creating headlines all across the country, in both independent media and on the left-wing corporate media. Let's ask, and we don't want to ask where he is or what he's doing these days, but how is he? Is he okay? Is he healed from all that? Because the kid took a beating, man.
He's doing great. He's doing great. Despite the fact that the school board wouldn't let him come back and finish school. He's made his own way and he's doing very well.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Your story, your personal story, and the story of your wife, Nicole, for that matter, both educators. You've got different beginnings to your stories, but you were both let go around the same time. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, we were both terminated on the same day.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And the story for you begins with, now, as incredible as this is going to sound to you guys watching this, from what somebody said about you on social media, is that true?
Seems to be what I've been told. Yes, it's a bit foggy, but that seems to be the case. I was called by my boss on a Monday night and in spring of 23, and she said, "Matt, sorry, but you can't come back into work. You're under investigation." No details given. So when I talked to the union in the morning, they said, "Well, it has something to do with your online posts." And I said, "Well, that's interesting because I wasn't online. I didn't do social media." I said, "I don't have social media. So what posts are those?" And she was a bit confused, but it seems to be that anonymous people made posts about me because of my connection to Josh. And that sparked the suspension.
Do you recall what was said about you? I mean, I was looking today just to see, and I saw a couple of things that went back a few years. It seemed like it was coming from the anti-hate network, the Canadian anti-hate network, and people affiliated with that network, and bots, because there were no real photos or names on these accounts. And it said that you were attached to Diagolon and that you were a hate-filled person. Right. You're a man of God. You're a man of Christ. Yeah. I just don't see the connection there.
No. That's yeah. I think you probably found the right posts. Yeah, they basically identified that this is Matt Alexander. That this is Josh Alexander's father. This is the father of Save Canada. The secret organizer and all kinds of stuff like this. Yeah.
And that's why you were called by your boss. Ultimately, I mean, like let's go through this progression of you getting called by your boss. You can't come in. You're under investigation, and no details given. What happened? Like, how long did it take for you to hear back from them?
So it took about 2 months until I finally had a meeting with them.
So wait, for 2 months, you were sitting on your hands, not knowing what the heck was going on with your job, with your employment, no income, I'm assuming too, right? Or were they paying you still?
Well, when I was suspended, I was suspended with pay. So that went on until October. So I was paid through until 6 months later when they terminated us.
Okay. So you had to wait for 2 months, and then they finally call you back and tell you what?
So we had a meeting with them, and they raised concerns that they had, which really weren't given in full detail, but we got the deeper details later on after the termination. Actually, we were given the full evidence against us, which was absolutely ridiculous. Through the whole process, the union, who didn't wind up helping us to any real extent, the union itself, my union rep said, like, "Matt, you've not done anything here. This isn't about you. This is about other people. This is about people you know. This is, we don't have," she said, "I'm looking for the board to tell us something that Matt has done because it's not here." So it was really came down to association, who I was associated with. Later on, we were shown there was a photo of me with Artur Pavlovsky and Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, who's a Christian online personality.
Yeah.
And that photo was, I guess, problematic because those people don't hold beliefs that align with board DEI policy. They have views on LGBTQ that don't align with the board. So somehow that disqualified me from being a teacher, I guess.
Was that now? Because I know that there's Catholic schools that are publicly funded in Ontario, and I know that there are just regular public schools that are funded as well. Was this a Catholic school, or was this just straight up public?
No, we sent Josh to a Catholic school for a very short period of time where he got turfed. But no, we were public school teachers, regular elementary public school teachers.
And so there's a photo of you with Artur Pawlowski, who
Yes.
I saw give a sermon a couple of months ago at the Ostrich Farm in British Columbia.
Right.
The man's an incredible speaker, and what a great man of God, a great voice. And Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, who is also a very strong Christian media personality. And that was their rationale. That was it.
How can you be with someone who has opinions that differ from the school board and be employed by the school board, I guess, is the issue, which raises the question: how can you go to church on a Sunday with a pastor who believes that homosexuality is a sin and yet be a teacher? I guess it brings into question, can a Christian, or a Muslim for that matter, be a teacher in Ontario?
Are there Muslim teachers?
Oh, sure there are. Yeah.
And do they wave the LGBTQ flags?
I don't know.
I mean, from what I've seen and read and heard, you were turfed for basically not celebrating LGBTQ, which is the DEI or part of the DEI policy of the school board, I gather.
Yeah.
What is involved in celebrating this? Is it something you have to bend the knee every time somebody says something about transsexual students' affirmations? I'm not following this. Like, can you go deeper into how this rolls out in schools?
Well, you're asking a very good question, and that's the very question I put to the board. Because long story short, they put us on leave suspension for 6 months, and then finally terminated us. And what happened was, just before they terminated us, they said, all right, well, we were given a letter, despite the fact that we think you're in violation of board policy, if you will, and they use the words which are drawn straight from a board guideline document, celebrate and affirm that in the classroom, then basically we'd have our job back. So the question was, well, I had the same question as you. What does that mean? First of all, I'm a Christian. My Lord is Jesus Christ, not the school board. I try to worship and honor Him, not money, and so I'm not going to bend my principles for that. But secondly, what does that mean? What does affirming look like? What does celebration of a lifestyle choice look like? I can't see how it would align with my faith, but there is no definition on that, which is a whole other issue in itself.
Had you seen this toxic policy rolling? I mean, you were an educator. You're still an educator. You're just not working presently. But had you seen this toxic ideology rolling in for quite some time before they finally lowered the boom on you?
Yeah, I mean, I got hired by the board in 2000, I think it was, and none of this existed back then, right? There was the conditions of employment didn't involve that, and I think it was in 2016 or 2017 when this guideline came into effect. And but I can say from 2016 through to 2023, it didn't affect my day-to-day life. I never celebrated any LGBTQ. I didn't necessarily have to do whatever affirming means. I didn't take part in anything that was an issue to me. So it didn't matter until they finally singled out and said, all right, you are required to do this. And I said, well, I'm not doing that.
And you were singled out because of your association with your son. I mean,
well,
you're associated with your son. Oh my God.
Certainly my son's activity was a part of it. And yeah, but both sons really.
Yes.
Josh took his stand, and that, of course, that sort of took the big media attention. But along with him, his older brother Nick went with him. Nick was attacked. He was cut with a blade at a protest by Trantifa activists. And so at that point, I did have social media, and I put out a post about that, and that caused an issue for the board as well. They didn't like that I had posted things about my son being attacked and cut at a protest. Reasoning, you'll have to ask them what the reasoning is. But yeah, I guess don't talk about your kid being attacked with a knife if you're a teacher. I guess your job.
When they came to you with their problem, what did they say? Do you remember?
Well, at this point, that was just put to me in writing. That wasn't. We didn't meet at that point. They called for another meeting with me, and I said that happy to meet. And at the meeting, I said I'm not keeping confidentiality, because that's they want confidentiality. I said I'll meet, I'll talk in the wide open here, but I'm not agreeing to terms of confidentiality. And they canceled the meeting. Done, over. So that was it.
Good for you, man. I mean, because that's the only way that this toxic ideology can function is, in the dark corners, right? When you bring it out into the sunlight, like what's happening in Alberta right now. They found all those pornographic books finally, and the left-wing corporate media has now no choice but to report on it because the government finally got the balls to say something about it. Let's talk about Nicole. She was a kindergarten teacher, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. And now her story, from what I'm read, is that somebody had tacked something about LGBTQ on her classroom door. She took it down, and then she got called in.
Exactly. Yeah. So she was taught French to kindergarten kids, and she went to her classroom early in the morning before the day started. And there's this poster, this flag on her door, and it's not on the other doors immediately around her. And she didn't put it there, so she took it down, put it away, and got the day started working with the kids. And then she was called to the office where the superintendent was waiting, and put the question, "Did you remove a flag from your door?" She said yes. And the superintendent said, you're suspended under investigation. Pack up your things and go home. So Nicole asked, was it a requirement to have that flag on the door? And the superintendent said, we'll discuss that later, which was never discussed. And that was it. And then 6 months later, terminated.
She must have known. Like, did she have any idea? I'm sure she's talked to you about this. Did she have any idea going down the hall to see the principal? I guess she thought she was going to go see the superintendent was going to be there. This was going to be such a big deal. She
had a pretty good hunch. Yeah.
I mean, when you see the superintendent there, it's like, oh no, like this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you guys get terminated in October. So this is 2 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you go to the union, and what happened then?
So so the union did their usual thing. They come in, they met and represented us, and we had numerous meetings with the union. Eventually, the union agreed to file a grievance. There was some hesitation, but they agreed to file a grievance for us. They were
wait a minute. What do you mean hesitation? Why were they hesitating? Like, this is an obvious grievance. It's
obvious to you, not obvious to all, I guess. They were willing to represent us in terms of saying, yes, you were unjustly terminated, but that's a very, very defined statement. They recognized that there were charter rights involved, human rights involved, but they refused to represent those. They refused to pursue the board on those issues, and we were demanding that they do that. And anyway, they initially filed the grievance. There are very tight timelines on these grievances to make things move. The board and the union agreed to do away with the timelines, which dragged it out for a year. And then at the end of that year, they said, we're not going to take this to arbitration. Done. We're dropping you.
And the reasoning was?
They wouldn't really give a reason. Our lawyers asked for what is your reason for not, and they said we didn't really want to do it. Something to do with the it's not just our concerns that matter. It's the concerns of all the membership that matter, and so all things taken into consideration, not for us. So they had told us, they had told us that they didn't want to pursue the charter violations. They didn't want to do that. We kept arguing with them about this, and they said, "Well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to do it on your own." So we did, because there's a 1-year timeline for human rights complaint. So as that 1 year approached, we waited and waited. As the 1 year approached, we filed it, and then shortly after that, they said, "Okay, we're dropping you, no arbitration."
So You had lawyers hired at that stage, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd worked with a few different people in the beginning as things were scrambling and crazy, and after a number of months, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms stepped in, and fantastic. I can't say enough good about them. So they've got a whole team that works with us, and they've been absolutely phenomenal. So
now you're faced with, excuse me, because this case sounds familiar to me going back through COVID times where people were not represented by their unions. And I can go to the Canadian postal workers. There was a group of about 50 of them that went to Cup W and said, represent us. I mean, we're being wrongly terminated here for not taking this formula. And the union refused to represent them. So they had to go to court with the union before they could even go to court against Canada Post. And I assume that's the same situation that you're in as well now.
Yeah, so we've taken our union to the labor board. My wife and I have both filed cases against them. And so what's interesting there is we're arguing that they have a duty to fairly represent. It's called a DFR. We're saying they didn't do that. They didn't fairly represent us. So our complaint has gone forward on that. The union and the school board both went to the labor board and asked them to dismiss our complaints. And we just found out a couple of days ago that the labor board looked at their request to dismiss our complaints, and they rejected it. Said, no, we're going ahead. We'll hear this case.
So you get to go to the labor board now.
Yeah.
All right. So what happened? This sounds far too complicated. It shouldn't be this bad. But what happens now? You go to the labor board and you argue against the union and the school board?
So the labor board will be just against the union. So that's our argument against them is in the labor board. We'll try to demonstrate that they didn't fairly represent us, that we essentially we would like to go back to negotiations with the board with the Justice Center lawyers representing us instead of the union. So that's not something the union wants to happen. So they're going to fight tooth and nail because that's taking the power away from them, and they're showing that their membership can get support elsewhere outside the union. So it's a huge case. Our union rep said this is a precedent setting case. Like, this is important.
Yeah,
and they dropped us.
I would say so. So, like, why doesn't the union decide, you know what, we better represent these? But the thing is, now that you've got the JCCF in your corner, you wouldn't want the union to be representing you, would you?
Well, the union's already proven they're not going to defend us. They're not going to support us. So the last thing I want is the union representing me. People don't understand. People all when
you got the union in a very difficult spot, as you just pointed out. I think it's great, to be honest, to watch these guys flail around.
It is, and our case is really strong. However, very few people sue their unions because the labor board is a very difficult place to win. The unions have it pretty tied up, and I don't expect it to be friendly to a conservative Christian couple who are arguing against the union on the state religion topic here of the LGBTQ. It's going to be touchy, but yes, I mean, it's a battle. It's a battle they don't want to fight, and we're taking it to them.
So let's say that when this goes to the labor board and they say, you know what, we're going with the union on this one. Do you have options after that? Can you take them to actual court as opposed to just because I imagine the labor board is filled with union reps, right? Like you were saying.
You would think, yeah. It's options afterwards. I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. Maybe there are some things, but really what people don't understand is that when people find out what happens, they say, oh, we'll sue them. Well, in Canada, you can't do that. When you're represented by a union, essentially the union owns your rights. As a worker, you are not an individual. You are a member of that collective. And the union is the one that has the rights. The worker has nothing. In an ideal world, that union works to defend the worker and defends their rights, but we're a perfect example that that's not what happens. You got to be on the right team, right?
Yeah.
So, Yeah, options afterwards, I don't know. So anyway, that is our fight with the union. I think it's the only avenue with them. And then with the school board, we've gone human rights tribunal. So
Human rights. So how long is that going to take?
who knows?
Have you got
My
a date
son,
for that one?
no date. Josh has put in a human rights complaint, and that was 2 years ago, and he hasn't even heard a thing.
You know, it's amazing to me that, and many people have become disillusioned right across the country with our institutions, provincial and federal, because they have been tainted by this state religion, as you point out, this LGBTQ, DEI, this wokeness, this 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. I mean, that's what this country seems to be operating on, from courts to labor boards to human rights tribunals. And when they take all of that away from people who are Christians, believe in Jesus Christ and the Word, and just from anybody really who has a real case, what's left for us to do? What other legal channels remain open to us?
There are not many. You can look to see if there's an avenue where you can sue civilly. In my case, where I'm working for a school board and I'm dealing with a union, there's very little room for that. Most people would say none. So yeah, we're left with two avenues: the labor board for the union, human rights tribunal with the school board, and that's about all we've got.
I'm wondering if there's a way, and I'm sure that, you're trying to fight one battle at a time, but there's got to be a way to get this to court, like actual court, under infringements on the charter, something like that. There's got to be a way. I'm sure the JCCF can come up with something. But in these last 2 years, what have you been doing? I mean, how have you been surviving? I mean, your livelihoods have been taken away.
Yes, livelihoods have been taken away. We definitely, it's been a challenge. We're retraining, trying to do new things. And it has really been a test of faith. I mean, look, I was a teacher. I had a steady paycheck, a decent paying paycheck. Things were pretty easy. And I never had to lean on God too much, you might want to say. But that has been the case, and all I can say is God is good, and we're managing. It's a struggle, but we're managing. We've got a GoFundMe going for anybody who's interested in that. But no, we've been leaning on the Lord for that.
Are there any other people that you can think of who have been put in the same type of position that the two of you are in right now? Well, we've talked about that, and I mean, definitely we can look at people like there's Amy Eileen Ham, right? The nurse in BC. She's undergoing just crazy what the college has done to her. There are some cases of people around. I think what makes ours a little bit different is it's a family. You've got a family being persecuted from the father, the mother, and children, all being given a hard time by school boards and unions. And I'm not sure who else has had that sort of situation. That makes it unique. And I look at the Pavlovskis too. I mean, there's a family that has gone through insane amount of persecution. And I mean, I've not been sent to prison. There's prison time there in that family. So not trying to align things directly in any way, but in terms of families who've gone through things, I mean, there's two. Yeah. What's it been like in the community for you? I mean, I know your church has probably been amazing. The people there have been supportive, I'm sure, but any contact with any former teacher buddies or like your neighbors? How's it been in your actual community? Within
the community is exemplifying to me the fear that is plaguing our entire society. I have support of Christians, a number of Christians, and they've been absolutely amazing and very loving. The average Joe tends to not want to chat. People I've known for years, they don't want to see me. That's been a very frequent occurrence. That's their choice. I mean, they can choose to follow or bow down to whatever it is they want to bow down to, but that's up to them. But it's very evident that a lot of people are. I don't even think they're ideologically captured. I think they're afraid of being in contact with Typhoid Mary. So,
It's interesting. Yeah, they're probably terrified of having their photo taken with you or something and having it posted on social media. And, oh my God, you're with Matt Alexander, that demon, which is probably how they, at least the LGBTQs and the people who run all the institutions, will frame you, which is incredible to me. And I'm sure you've thought about this. I mean, we've all thought about this. Everybody watching this right now, me. How do we get out of this, Matt? I mean, how do we overcome this fear and just go back to liking each other again, even if we have political disagreements?
Well, maybe I'll give you a long answer. I guess the strategy and I say we as the collective societal we've tried to be really quiet and polite and nice and play along and not make waves. And it's got us here. We now have people in all different professions being canceled, knocked out of their jobs and ostracized, frankly, from society. That's not worked. So I think it's time to just be bold and speak what you believe. I've said it before. We've got a case where we live in a free country where you're not allowed to talk about certain topics. People hush their voices and they whisper or they exit conversations. I've seen lunchrooms clear immediately when somebody brought up a topic, and boom, everybody's up, packs their lunch, and they're gone. I mean, the culture of cowardice needs to end. If people would just start to speak their mind and speak up and bring normal back to normal, we might have some progress.
What are they afraid of losing?
I'd say first and foremost, the fear is monetary. People are afraid of losing the comfort of in the extreme case of losing a paycheck, losing a pension. We look at what our police officers do in some situations, all in the name of hanging on to that pension. It's grotesque. And then there's, of course, the herd mentality where people want to be a part of the pack. They want to be accepted. And they think that if they play that game, they'll be accepted, but they don't realize that you play that game, you'll be accepted until you're not. And you got to speak your mind. That's the only way out.
Yeah, it's fine until they come knocking at your door, right?
Yeah.
For something that you've said.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk, I wanted to ask you about him. Christian man, spoke bravely, went to college campuses where there were Antifas, Trans-Tifas, loud protesters with the megaphones and the umbrellas, their routine.
Yep.
And yesterday, obviously, everybody knows what happened to Charlie. What are your thoughts on that? Is that going to rally people in a good way?
I sincerely hope so. I think it's going to do a bit of both. I think it's going to rally people on both sides. I think it'll rally the most extreme on the if we want to say the left side, but on the other side, I think it is going to rally people. I think it is going to embolden people. Throughout history, when you create a martyr, you make things grow. That's the story of Christianity. It was built on martyrdom. And Charlie Kirk was a faithful, brilliant, eloquent voice. And he stood on not just politics. He was political, but he built his life on the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And if you listen to him speak, whether it's politics or whether it's just strictly a religious discussion, that man would give the basic tenets of Christianity clearer than almost any pastor you'd listen to on a Sunday morning in you name the church across North America. You hear all kinds of things from organized religion. What you don't usually hear is the simple message of you're a sinner, Christ died, Christ rose again, turn to him, confess him as Lord, and believe that he rose again, and you'll be saved. He could bring that message forth in 30 to 40 seconds and with clarity that nobody else, very few people do. Simple job, but he did it. And based on that, he was able to reach people and reach them with love and gentleness, but still having truth. And that's quite a legacy. I think that will inspire many more. I think it'll inspire people who are maybe trying to do the right thing to do it better. And I think on the sort of more political end, I think it's a bit of a wake-up call. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to go down. Josh was invited to the America Fest Turning Point event that Charlie put on, and he's a special guest. We went down, fantastic event, amazing speakers, well organized. I sat there in a row with a group of Canadians, and all of whom had undergone various levels of persecution and difficulty since from COVID on. And we sat there and we listened, and we all had the same view. You know what? Fantastic conference, fantastic speakers. They're saying all the right words, but we all looked around and said, but the people don't get it. They're on the right side. They understand the facts. They don't understand how actually close and dangerous the Marxism is. And that was like, we're these Canadians sitting there thinking, man, these Americans, they have so much, but they're not getting it. You know what? Yesterday, I think they get it. I think that's going to really make people open their eyes and say, okay, we have to adjust a bit here and deal with this.
You know, the hate that we've been seeing. I mean, that, you know, what you just said is absolutely true. A man of God, eloquent, filled with love, not hate. The other side accuse him of just that. They call him a fascist. They call all of us fascists and extreme right-wing knuckle draggers, even politicians at this stage of the game. And the dancing, the celebrating that a man had died on social media yesterday. I mean, it's a tragedy what happened to Charlie, but in my opinion, an even bigger tragedy that people would actually do that. I mean, in what world is that okay?
It's okay in a world that has brainwashed them to think that they are victims and that people who speak truth are harmful and violent. And in this polarized society, they actually believe that. I mean, people can actually sit there and we can watch them online. They sit there and they call Charlie Kirk a Nazi. That's outrageous.
Yeah. But even politicians, even elected officials use that kind of rhetoric against people like Charlie, against people like you, against people like me.
Yeah.
And that don't they understand what a big stick they carry when they say these words and how they are going to rally the psychotics on the other side to do just the kind of thing that happened yesterday. Look at this from the Toronto Sun, University of Toronto professor saying shooting is too good for fascists is disgusting. That's what Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, said earlier today. Political professor Dr. Ruth Marshall has been placed on leave, not fired, like is happening in Florida and all across the United States today. Put on leave by the U of T after creepy comments on the assassination murder of Charlie Kirk. How do they justify keeping her on a payroll? How do they justify just putting her on leave? Just put her on leave and let's keep this quiet until all this calms down and then we'll bring her back?
Yeah, I mean, in their defense, no doubt there's going to be a process, right? Just contractually, they'll have to go through, just like me. Then they would have loved to fire me immediately, maybe, but they had to go through a process. And
but wouldn't that be for cause, though? I mean, that is an obvious cause right there, as far as I'm concerned. Putting the name of the university in disrepute publicly, that's an immediate cause for dismissal. That's in my humble opinion.
It's a pretty significant character flaw, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Are you going to be at We Unify this weekend?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I was going to go to that, but I had to change my plans a couple of months ago. I wish you guys all the best in getting together this weekend. It's this weekend, right?
It is. No, sorry, it's next weekend.
Next weekend in Calgary. There's going to be a lot of tremendous speakers there. WeUnify.com, I think, is the website where you guys can go to get tickets. Matt, just one of the many people who will be there talking with the crowd. I want to thank you for coming on tonight, Matt. I really appreciate you taking the time. I wish you all the best. And do you have is it a Give, Send, Go, or is it a GoFundMe? It's a Give, Send, Go?
Give, Send, Go.
Okay. Then I'm going to put that up in the comments on all the platforms we're on tonight. Hopefully some people will see fit to help you guys out because you're standing up and you're doing the right thing, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Matt Alexander, everybody. We're coming right back. The Shadow at Night live stream brought to you by CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Silver is amazing. It has several natural health benefits, and it's been used for hundreds of years for health and healing. That's the main reason they made silverware from silver. But seriously, this nano silver from Silverceuticals is the best and safest silver you can find. There are hundreds of studies and reports on it. I've read some of the studies myself, and it's mind-blowing. One of the things that sets Silverceuticals apart is that it washes out of your body in 24 hours. No silver buildup and no turning blue. And it won't even harm the good bacteria your body needs. It's so effective, they can use very small concentrations of silver, like 10 and 32 parts per million, and still outperform other silvers that have up to 3,000 parts per million. It's safer and more effective at the same time. It is an incredibly small particle that is small enough to work through your body, but big enough not to fall out of suspension. They infuse it into almost all of their products. It works in facial serums, toothpaste, gels, and even gummies that work to help your immune system.
There it is. Canada Nano Silver. Call today, 204-808-9292. CanadaNanoSilver.com. So let's have a look at this news story here from the Toronto Sun. Because there's an entire website dedicated to these people. There's this professor, this U of T professor, not the one on the left, obviously, the one on the right. Premier Doug Ford says comments from a University of Toronto professor that shooting is too good for those she disagrees with are disgusting. He was responding to Dr. Ruth Marshall's X post following the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. Shooting is honestly too good for so many of you fascist, and that's see you next Tuesday she uses there. You guys know what I mean? I'm not going to say the word. That's what she posted on her X account just hours after Charlie was shot and killed while speaking to students at Utah College. That is disgusting, Ford told the Toronto Sun today. Sick people. This professor was not alone in offering disturbing comments following this heinous slaying. There were many bizarre responses to this evil from Canadian political and media personalities. But the ones by the Associate Professor for the Study of Religion and Political Science at the St. George campus sparked much shock and disgust. Brian Lilly commenting on what she had to say. University of Toronto political professor on the death of Charlie Kirk. If you're wondering why the kids are getting so radicalized in our universities now, posted the pleb. These are the vile teachers who are brainwashing them. It also shines the light on why many conservatives are nervous to express their views, not just for the risk of being shot or worse, as the professor tweeted, but just in terms of losing status, marks, future opportunity. No one should be able to intimidate or threaten another based on their political views or allegiances. That's the whole point of freedom and democracy. So what happens next? Would you feel safe sending your child to the University of Toronto when one of its professors brags that shooting someone is too good for them? Is it safe for conservative thinking students there? You know, there was a recent poll amongst university students in this country. They say 65% of them say that they self-censor on campus because they're scared if they say something radical, whatever that is these days, they're going to be turfed or canceled. Education Minister Nolan Quinn reiterated what the Premier was saying by taking to X to post, universities and their professors are supposed to foster critical thought, respectful debate, and be safe learning environments. And this professor's violent rhetoric flagrantly flies in the face of that. I've been clear with the University of Toronto. They need to act. So by the end of the day, today, this professor learned that she had been immediately pulled from her teaching role and sent home. In a statement, U of T said it took immediate action upon learning of the concerning social media posts of a University of Toronto professor, and the faculty member is now on leave, not on campus. But Marshall, at this point, has not been fired, and there is no wording to say she was suspended, just sent home. It's unclear what the next steps would be or if there's a process. U of T said the matter is being looked into, and the university will not be commenting further. She needs to go. Gone. Nothing short of suspending this professor while they investigate will be satisfying. Free speech is one thing, but when one talks about violence being too good for political opponents, there is no way such a person should be in a classroom or on campus, especially when Kirk was murdered at a similar-sized university. It's not the first controversy for Marshall, but we don't need to get into that. Unbelievable. Teacher needs to go. Now, what we know about Charlie Kirk shooter as the manhunt continues. This is from left-wing corporate ABC down there in the United States. The suspect being sought in yesterday's fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk in Utah is believed to be a college-aged individual with an apparent proficiency in handling a high-powered rifle and likely knew the layout of the university where the homicide occurred, according to authorities and a former FBI agent during a news conference just this morning. Now, I'm not sure, guys, if this has been updated in the past hour. Maybe you could write it down in the comments if it has, if they've caught this guy or not, because I was watching this up until the last second before the show went live tonight, and I didn't see anything. During a news conference this morning, investigators said they had a series of breakthroughs overnight that make them confident they'll be able to identify and eventually apprehend the person who killed Kirk with a single shot fired from a rooftop at a substantial distance. Now that makes it sound like a professional, doesn't it? We're investing everything we have into this, and we'll catch this individual. Bo Mason, commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety, said at the news conference. Now, the FBI released this photo earlier today. And this one. Multiple law enforcement sources with knowledge of the investigation told ABC News the weapon is an older model, imported Mauser 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle that was found wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near the school. The sources said a spent cartridge was discovered in the chamber of the gun. All right, I'm going to stop right there because they don't go into any more detail about the spent cartridges. So let's bring up Stephen Crowder's ex-post here. He says, this morning, my team received an email from an officer at ATF. The email included a screenshot from what appears to be an internal message describing a weapon and cartridges located by an ATF and other law enforcement near the scene of the Charlie Kirk shooting at Utah Valley State University. So this is where it gets interesting. This is where ABC stops their coverage. All cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. I say again, all cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. An emergency trace has been submitted. An ATF SLC is working leads generating by the trace. The firearm and ammunition have been taken by the FBI or for DNA analysis and fingerprint impressions. Upon completion of forensics, the firearm will be disassembled for additional importer information. Multiple people of interest have been contacted or detained because of eyewitness testimony and review of video footage. The primary suspect is yet to be identified. ATF is assisting the investigation with multiple other federal, state, and local partners. And there is the email that Steven Crowder is talking about. This website went live today. This is charliesmurderers.com. charliesmurderers.com. Before we dig into that one, and there's a Canadian at the top of the list on this website, here's video of J.D. Vance bringing home Charlie's body to Arizona from Utah today on Air Force Two. They were friends, Vance and Charlie. Had a candlelight vigil for Charlie Kirk at the Idaho State Legislature last night. Some Marxist riding a scooter came through the crowd yelling, "F Charlie Kirk," and here's what happened.
This guy's gonna get fucked. Trying to fuck that up. Go back to Moonlight Mountain, you fucking piece of shit! Take your hands, come on!
There he is right there, that guy.
Like, this is a tolerant left. This is fucking tolerant. I just saved your life. What happened to free speech, motherfucker? What happened to free speech, motherfucker? Jaden, stop. You guys killed that guy who's talking to the people. What did happen to free speech? What happened to dialogue? What happened to discourse?
What happened to their brains? What happened there? You know, there might be an answer. There's a lot of people who've been saying, well, you know, that shot, it's affecting their brains. That spike protein Entertainment purposes only, by the way. That spike protein is crossing the blood-brain barrier, they're saying. Dr. Sukarit Bhakti, probably one of the most respected microbiologists on Earth up until COVID, when they started calling him a disseminator of misinformation, has something to say about this. Watch.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I am no longer optimistic anymore. And the reason is very simple. The reason is because I'm afraid that these RNA vaccines, mod RNA vaccines, whatever you want to call them, have already done their job. And what their job has been, and this is incredible, was not even known to the planners because they didn't realize that what they were doing. But it is what I said years ago, that the vessels throughout the body are going to be attacked from top to toe. This is something that never happens in any disease, okay? Systemic, meaning the brain, the heart, the liver, everything can be attacked, the vessels. And the trouble is that it's turned out to be true. So this systemic vasculitis leads to destruction of brain cells, obviously. And that is what we are now experiencing. We're seeing, I'm afraid to say, billions of people whose brains are not working anymore, not as they should be. They are altered, and they do not have, they don't have the willpower anymore. They don't have the intelligence anymore to move things. And so the only chance we have is to stop this mod RNA crime, because this crime is going to destroy us. The trouble is that they're rolling out this RNA vaccines all over the place, and people don't realize this is being done.
What he's talking about there is it's not just for COVID anymore. Every vaccine at some point soon will be mRNA. At least that's what their goal is. They've said it publicly, all over social media, all over left-wing corporate media, you name it. All right, let's get back to this website for a second here. This is charliesmurderers.com. Charlie Kirk was murdered. This is actually a brilliant idea. Because again, when they show you who they are, believe them. And then do something about it. Is an employee or student of yours supporting political violence online? Look them up on this website. Say no to political violence. And then they say, send information on anyone celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Email us at expose@charliesmurderers.com. We've received thousands of submissions. All of them will be reviewed and uploaded shortly. This is a permanent archive and will soon contain a search feature. Rachel Gilmore tops the list. Rachel Gilmore. What'd she say? I don't believe violence is ever the answer. It just makes everything worse. That was my point with this post. I don't want to live in a world where this is how we resolve disagreements. This event risks bringing that world closer to reality. I hope Charlie survives. But she also said, terrified to think of how far-right fans of Kirk aching for more violence could very well turn this into an even more radicalizing moment. Will they now believe their fears have been proven right and feel they have a right to retaliate regardless of who actually was behind the initial shooting? Well, we know. Well, we don't know for sure yet, but we have a good suspicion that the shooter was a big believer in Antifa and a big believer in trans rights. And then somebody called Fat Idiot writes, Charlie Kirk is a Nazi and there exists an undeniable moral and ethical imperative to kill Nazis. Jeremiah Farmer, transportation driver at Ordeal Inc. So look at how they've got it. They've got where they are, where they work. Clark Kennedy, Queens, New York. Please be dead, please be dead, please be dead. With a photo of Charlie at the moment he was shot. Samuel J. Perea, Pico Rivera, California. Are guns an issue now? Prove me wrong, with a big bullet through his neck, smiling in a trench coat. That doesn't look too sick. Tayton Oatkin, Nebraska. White supremacist down. So all of this stuff, guys. I mean, there's hundreds already up there. And you can go check it out for yourself when you have a moment. Not expose. That's how you get a hold. charliesmurderers.com. Again, that is charliesmurderers.com. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. Florida Department of Education announced investigations into every teacher who celebrates Charlie Kirk's death and threatens govern yourselves accordingly. We will hold teachers who choose to make disgusting comments about the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk accountable. Govern yourselves accordingly, the Commissioner of Education declared. Fire them all. It's FAFO season, is what Eric Doherty says. There is one Democrat that I found today online who might be waking up. You don't know him, just a young Asian dude, but it's a start.
As a registered Democrat, all I have to say is the Charlie Kirk shooting just proves that we are the worst, man. My party is the fucking worst. I got people celebrating, hoping that he dies. Are we fucking for real right now? Where's the empathy? Where's the respect, man? It's disgusting. It's disgusting, truly. And the fact of the matter is this: he was a father, and whether or not I agree with his political opinions, all he truly wanted to do at the core was see this country be the best. And I can fucking respect that. And to see people just be blatantly disgusting, man, we're the worst, man. We're horrible. As a registered Democrat, all I have to say is the Charlie Kirk shooting.
I guess that's on there twice. What a terrible job of editing I did. You got his point? He's recognizing that his people are the worst. And I'm sure there are thousands, hopefully millions more just like him out there. This was the point when we were talking to Matt Alexander a little bit earlier, at least one of the points we were making. And that was people should be waking up. Now, the left-wing Canadian politicians, many of them played it smart. People like Wab Kinew, people like Mark Carney, they all said, oh, condolences for, on the death of Charlie Kirk. It must be horrible for, they make official political statements like that. However, what happens is their supporters on social media harangue them for it and call them traitorous. And so then people who voted Liberal or voted NDP, provincially, federally, whatever, they go, wait a minute, hold on. These are the same people. These wackos are the same people who are supporting Mark Carney. These are the people who are voting NDP. What? And I voted Liberal last time. I'm not voting Liberal again. Can you see how that chain might be coming together? People are starting to see. And in the meantime, when you come over to the conservative side of things, and I'm not necessarily just talking conservative party, I'm talking about mindset. I'm talking about the logical, common sense mindset. A friend of mine said last night, I don't think there's going to be much retaliation on this Charlie Kirk thing because we're not like that. Most of us, we're rational. We stop. We think our way through things. We don't panic. We're normal human beings from like 20 years ago. We're accepting, unless somebody's an asshole, right? So they're going to see that. They're going to go, wait a minute, these people aren't evil. Misconceptions are changing. It's slow. It's been a painfully slow process, but I believe that these misconceptions are changing. Even about the convoy, you watch and see what happens. People are slowly going to turn around on that. Danielle Smith has been doing some good stuff in Alberta, hasn't she? With the porn in public schools, public libraries, I would say yes, that's good. There's a lot of people who are accusing her of being a separatist. That would be the Naheed Nenshi crowd, the left-wingers, the freaks, right? But then on the right side of things, a little bit further to the right, not extremists, but a little bit further to the right, you see people saying Danielle does not go far enough. She doesn't commit, even though some people say, yeah, she's committed. She's a federalist. She wants to see a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. And still, nobody can explain to me what that means. I mean, I know what I think it means, but I haven't heard it explained yet. Here is Danielle Smith talking about her meeting with Mark Carney today. Apparently, it went very well.
The meeting with the Prime Minister was about as encouraging as any meeting I've had with the federal government in a long time. I think he really understands the issues that we put on the table, and we're working through how to address them. I've talked about the grand bargain, and it really has three elements to it. I want to see, of course, a pipeline to the BC coast, the Pathways project, and also some of the bad laws that are impacting the investment climate. And so it's taking us a little bit of time to work through that, but we're making great progress. I understand that the Prime Minister is looking for a next tranche of major projects to be announced by Grey Cup, and I'm really hopeful that by then we'll be able to have something to share.
Okay, and just to clarify, did you get assurances that it will be on the second tranche of projects that will be approved? And separately, how would you assess the reports that are coming out about the list from Alberta's perspective, including it appears as though phase 2 of the LNG Canada project will go ahead, and there's some suggestions that the Pathways plus carbon capture project could be part of the next wave? Well,
I can tell you that when I looked at the first 5 projects, I thought finally they get it, because it's all the projects that have been difficult to build. It's mining projects, it's LNG Canada, and I think that demonstrates a real shift in the focus of this government. I've seen that the Prime Minister has talked about supporting both conventional and new energy, and I think we're seeing that with some of these early announcements. And I would just ask people to be patient. I mean, we went from having chased away $500 billion worth of investment over the last 10 years. You can't turn that around immedely. And so to have 5 major projects this quickly, with the promise that through the Major Projects Office, located in Calgary, with led by Don Farrell, who does actually have some experience in building a bitumen pipeline to the West Coast, I think people should be encouraged that they've got the right person who's assessing those projects, and that they're heading off in a good direction. We have a little bit more work to do to address the overall investment climate, and that's what we're going to be working on.
You know, I think that Danielle Smith is a very smart woman, very smart. She knows how to play the game. She knows that Mark Carney has zero intention of building any pipelines. Zero. So he might say to her in a meeting, oh, yeah, we'll absolutely work on that pipeline. We're going to get that done all the way out to BC. We're going to get rid of that no more tankers law. And then he's going to turn around a day later, maybe 2 days, go to Quebec and say, there will never be a pipeline built through Quebec. Never. Remember, we told you yesterday that Carney's first tranche of projects, the announcement was coming out today. There's no pipelines in that. He's not going to build any pipelines. And no company has come forward and said, hey, can we build a pipeline now? Because they know what answer they're going to get. So Danielle What are you doing? Why don't you get on board with the sovereignists? Why don't you get on board with the Alberta sovereignty movement already? Because if you don't, you're going to be roadkill. Figuratively, of course. One more thing before I let you guys go tonight. And in the extension, it's going to be interesting. Michael Jaco put out a video today about Charlie Kirk. He's a retired veteran, this guy, with over 24 years in naval special warfare and over 2 years in naval diving and salvage, 11 years as a contract and direct contract security op for U.S. State Department and CIA operations in combat zones. Dedicated a total of 35 years serving the U.S. government in high-risk environments. So this guy put out a video about Charlie Kirk today. He also put a video out the other day regarding the young Ukrainian lady who was killed on the LRT in Charlotte. It's interesting. It's eye-opening. Might be too soon. Some people might not like it, but that's what's coming up in the extension tonight. This is the last thing. From the Straits Times, the UK, the government has rejected proposals to block out the sun. I can't even believe that this is a headline. I mean, what world are we living in? The UK has rejected a proposal to block out the sun to curb climate change. And that's it. Back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadow at Night live stream. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Have a great sleep. Bye for now. The extension starts in 2 minutes on shadowdavis.com for all access Nighthawks. We'll be right back.